So we got a call for a razor that has gone off of the side of the road.
Holy smokes!
So we got a call for a Toyota 4Runner that is stuck up in Elbow Canyon.
He was the man who never left anyone stranded. With a yellow van and grit forged in the Utah desert, Matt Wetzel built a rescue empire and a YouTube legacy millions admired. But in the blink of an eye, that legacy was threatened. A felony charge, public backlash, and whispers of betrayal from those closest to him. What really happened behind the wheel of Matt's off-road recovery? Buckle up, because this story swerves hard. It began like every other day in the Utah desert. A call for help, a stranded off-roader, and a yellow van barreling down the trail like a superhero on wheels. At the heart of it all was Matt Wetzel, the man behind Matt's Off-Road Recovery, a YouTube phenomenon who turned grit, grease, and heart into millions of views and a loyal global following. For years, Matt was more than a mechanic. He was a symbol of reliability. Viewers didn't just watch him tow cars out of trouble, they watched him pull entire stories out of mud, sand, and disaster. His business wasn't just about vehicles, it was about people, loyalty, and passion. But in 2021, that reputation collided with something far more treacherous than any sand pit or broken axle. Allegations of insurance fraud surfaced, and with them came a felony charge that sent shockwaves through his fan base. The man known for solving other people's emergencies suddenly found himself at the center of his own. What unfolded next wasn't just a legal battle, it was a public reckoning. Fans were forced to confront the question, could their hero have crossed a line? And behind the scenes, close bonds were tested, staff disappeared, and the very integrity of Matt's off-road empire seemed to hang by a thread. This is not just the story of a man and his recovery business. It's the story of how a modern-day cowboy on four wheels built a kingdom in the dirt, nearly lost it to controversy, and faced the hardest terrain of his life, not with a winch, but with sheer will. Before the yellow van, before the YouTube channel, and long before anyone ever called him a hero, Matt Wetzel was a roofer under the blistering Utah sun. With a hammer in hand and sweat pouring off his brow, he built his work ethic one shingle at a time. It wasn't glamorous and it certainly wasn't easy, but it shaped him. Day after day, Matt scaled rooftops, hauling materials through scorching winds and biting cold. It was back-breaking labor, but for Matt, it was also training, mental, physical, and emotional for the battles to come. His summers weren't spent at camps or on family vacations. Instead, he was in the fields, working long hours with his family's harvesting company. Dusty plots, broken down tractors, and relentless heat were his companions. But while others saw discomfort, Matt saw opportunity. When a tractor failed, he didn't wait for help. He popped the hood and made it run. That's where his bond with machines was forged, not in a classroom, but on the front line of survival. He began to understand the mechanics not just of vehicles, but of problem solving itself. Those early years taught Matt more than how to fix things. They taught him to endure. He wasn't the type to chase fame or fortune. His dream was simpler: build something with his hands, solve real problems, and do it his way. So when the chance came to buy a tiny towing company in 2009, Matt didn't flinch. Others thought he was crazy. They saw a money pit. Matt saw the first brick in the foundation of a dream. He wasn't looking for approval. He was looking for a challenge, and he found it.
When Matt Wetzel signed the papers to purchase a modest towing company in 2009, there were no guarantees, no viral videos, no fans, no fame. Just a rusted winch, a beat-up truck, and an ironclad belief that he could build something from nothing. Critics questioned his judgment, friends shook their heads, but Matt, hardened by years of labor and self-reliance, tuned out the noise. He dove in head first. What started as a simple roadside assistance operation in Hurricane, Utah, quickly evolved into something greater. Matt didn't just pull cars out of ditches, he pulled trust out of every recovery. And soon, that trust turned into traction. Within 4 years, his small business had grown into Winters Towing, a well-respected name in the region. But it wasn't just expansion, it was evolution. Matt's approach was unconventional. He didn't wait for ideal conditions or perfect gear. If a vehicle was stranded in deep sand, rising floods, or frozen terrain, Matt showed up. He didn't flinch at jobs that other tow companies turned down. Instead, he invented ways to make them possible. Welding scrap metal into tools, customizing his trucks for treacherous paths, Matt was innovating on the fly, pushing the boundaries of what a recovery team could do. His reputation swelled, not from flashy advertising, but from results. By word of mouth and dusty trails, he became the go-to man for impossible missions. His yellow rigs became icons on Utah's back roads, symbols of hope for off-roaders in trouble. What Matt built was more than a business. It was a lifeline, forged by skill, sweat, and the relentless pursuit of doing things differently, and doing them better. It wasn't part of the original plan. Matt Wetzel didn't set out to become an internet celebrity. He just wanted to help people stuck in impossible places. But as recovery after recovery piled up, so did the stories, the drama, the human moments of triumph in the middle of nowhere. That's when the idea struck. Why not film it? With no prior experience in content creation, Matt picked up a camera. No production team, no script, no real understanding of how YouTube even worked. His first few videos were clunky, poorly edited, and stitched together with raw determination. But they were real, and that authenticity struck a nerve. In a sea of polished, overproduced content, Matt's channel felt honest. Fans didn't just see a man towing vehicles, they saw someone who showed up when it mattered, someone who didn't quit until the job was done. While others struggled to find footing on the platform, Matt did what he had always done. He worked. By day, he pulled Jeeps out of sand traps and rescued trucks from flash floods. By night, he watched tutorials, studied the algorithm, and learned how to edit footage. It was messy, exhausting, and thankless, until it wasn't. Slowly but surely, views trickled in. Then they surged, and when the world finally caught on, Matt's off-road recovery exploded. What started as a one-man operation transformed into a global channel with millions of subscribers. People from across the world tuned in, not for Hollywood effects, but to witness the thrill of real problem-solving, genuine teamwork, and Matt's unmistakable spirit. He wasn't just saving cars anymore. He was saving stories and sharing them with the world. What kept viewers coming back to Matt's off-road recovery wasn't just the spectacle of 4x4 rescues or the challenge of sand and mud, it was the soul behind the steel. In a world overflowing with curated content and manufactured drama, Matt Wetzel offered something rare: authenticity. Every frame captured more than a recovery, it revealed character. Fans saw a man who didn't chase glory, but earned respect one job at a time. Whether it was welding an emergency tool from junkyard scraps or braving a storm to help a family in distress, Matt proved that innovation didn't need a flashy budget. It needed grit and creativity, and he had both in spades. Viewers were drawn to the raw integrity of a man who refused to cut corners, even when no one was watching. His yellow recovery rig became more than a vehicle. It was a symbol, not of wealth or fame, but of reliability, of someone who'd show up no matter the terrain. But Matt wasn't alone. The team around him, each with their own quirks, strengths, and stories, became an extension of that ethos. They weren't background players, they were family. Watching them interact, solve problems, crack jokes, and support one another added layers to the show. It wasn't just a job, it was a bond. And fans felt like they were part of that bond too. Every episode left viewers not just entertained, but inspired, reminded that loyalty, teamwork, and heart could still thrive in a digital age. For many, Matt's off-road recovery was more than a YouTube channel. It was proof that being good, genuinely good, still mattered.
Behind the grease-stained shirts and desert rescues, there's a part of Matt Wetzel's story that doesn't always make the headlines. It's quieter than a revving engine, but just as powerful: his generosity. As Matt's off-road recovery gained momentum and money began trickling in from YouTube's success, Matt didn't race toward luxury. Instead, he turned the spotlight outward. In 2021, he helped raise a staggering $100,000 for the All Abilities Park, a space built so children with disabilities could experience the simple joy of play. He didn't stop there. He contributed $111 to the One Wish Foundation, an organization that helps grant final wishes to terminally ill adults. Then he stepped in again, this time for victims of domestic mistreatment, raising over $60,000 for the Dove Center, a refuge for those seeking safety and hope. These weren't PR stunts. There were no grand speeches or choreographed unveilings. Matt gave because he believed it was right.
Because he remembered what it felt like to have little, and because he never forgot the value of community. His fans noticed. For every recovery video, there were comments not just praising his technical skills, but his heart. It was the same heart that led him to mentor young mechanics like Lizzie Ballard and to speak at the University of Utah, urging students to chase dreams with integrity and discipline. Matt Wetzel's story has always been rooted in resilience, but it's his empathy, his commitment to lifting others that cements his place as more than just a content creator. He's a man who fixes vehicles and quietly, consistently, helps repair lives too.
In 2021, the man who had spent a lifetime pulling others out of ditches suddenly found himself trapped in one of his own. For years, Matt Wetzel had built his reputation on trust, delivering help when others wouldn't. But then came the charges, a second-degree felony count of insurance fraud leveled against the face of Matt's off-road recovery, a charge that didn't just threaten his business, but everything he stood for. At the heart of the case was a series of alleged missteps involving AAA. The prosecution claimed Matt's company submitted false towing claims they said misrepresented the nature and timing of off-road recoveries, collecting over $15,000 in payments that shouldn't have been made. According to court records, some of the recoveries never happened or were allegedly staged to qualify under AAA's coverage. To Matt's fans, the news hit like a sandstorm. Some defended him immediately, others hesitated, questioning whether the trusted rescuer had crossed a moral line. Matt didn't deny everything. Instead, he offered a complicated picture. He admitted his methods were, in his own words, bad on the front end but fair on the back end. His intent, he claimed, was never to scam, but to help people who needed towing but weren't covered under AAA at the time. Still, intent wasn't enough to shield him from consequence. Rather than face a lengthy trial and the risk of 15 years in prison, Matt entered a no-contest plea to a reduced misdemeanor, making a false insurance claim. The result? 18 months of probation, over $15,000 in restitution to AAA, and additional fines to Utah's insurance division. The ruling sent ripples across his audience. For some, it was a sobering fall from grace. For others, it was a human mistake made by a man trying too hard to do the right thing in the wrong way. Either way, the scandal became a defining chapter in Matt's journey, not for the charge itself, but for how he would respond. When the dust settled from the courtroom, the real test began, not in front of a judge, but in front of the internet. The news of Matt Wetzel's legal troubles spread quickly, and for a moment it felt like the unshakable foundation of Matt's off-road recovery had started to crack. Fans who once flooded the comments sections with praise now found themselves conflicted. Some questioned how someone so principled, so community-focused could be tied to fraud. Others felt betrayed, as if the hero they'd rooted for had veered off the moral road. But the backlash wasn't as simple or as loud as it could have been. That's because Matt didn't run from the controversy. He faced it. In a quiet but firm statement, he acknowledged that his billing practices had been flawed, admitting that trying to help people without proper insurance had backfired. He didn't make excuses and he didn't outlash at critics. Instead, he explained, not to clear his name, but to clarify his intent. And that honesty mattered. For every skeptical comment, there were dozens more from longtime fans expressing support. They didn't see a con artist. They saw a man who made a mistake, owned up to it, and was willing to pay the price. His transparency was disarming. Viewers recalled the years they'd watched him work through desert storms, crawl under broken-down trucks, and help complete strangers without hesitation. They remembered the man who showed up when no one else would. Slowly, the narrative shifted. The scandal, once a stain on his reputation, became a turning point. Not because it vanished, but because of how Matt handled it, with humility and quiet accountability. And in a world quick to cancel, that alone was enough for many to stay loyal.
Among the faces that helped define Matt's off-road recovery, one name stood out not just for her skill, but for her spirit, Lizzie Ballard. Viewers knew her as the fearless young mechanic with a quiet confidence and a spark that matched any engine she touched. For years, she was more than just a supporting player, she was a standout, navigating treacherous recoveries with grace, resolve, and a wrench in hand. Fans watched her grow from apprentice to expert under Matt's mentorship, becoming a symbol of strength and determination for a new generation of women in the off-road world. So when Lizzie suddenly disappeared from the channel in 2022, the silence was deafening. Speculation flooded the comments. Had there been a falling out? Was she okay? The truth was far gentler. Lizzie had gotten married, stepping into a new chapter of her life surrounded by the very people she once worked beside. The ceremony held in Hurricane, Utah brought together the off-road family in celebration, not sorrow. Matt, ever the father figure, didn't let her departure slip away unnoticed. He planned a heartfelt send-off, one filled with tears, laughter, and a gift that spoke volumes, a truck of her own. It was more than a parting gesture, it was a symbol of everything she had earned. But Lizzie wasn't just a staff member, she was the daughter of one of Matt's close friends, and over the years, their relationship had deepened into something familial. He gave her space to learn, to fail, and to rise, and she did, becoming an accomplished welder and recovery specialist in her own right. Her absence left a void in the team and in the hearts of viewers, yet even in departure, Lizzie remained connected.
In 2025, she returned as a special guest for a rescue mission, reuniting with Caitlin and Laura Farms for a one-off appearance that reminded fans why they loved her in the first place. Today, Lizzie lives a quieter life, focused on ranching and family, but her legacy in the recovery world remains intact. For fans and for Matt, she wasn't just a team member, she was a chapter of the show's heart. If Lizzie's departure was a quiet passing of the torch, Tom's exit stirred something deeper: curiosity, confusion, and concern. Tom wasn't just another team member, he was part of Matt Wetzel's origin story. Their bond stretched back to 1995 when the two met as young missionaries in Washington, Illinois. In those days before recovery rigs and viral videos, they built a friendship grounded in faith, stories of home, and shared dreams about tools and trucks. Over the years, life pulled them in different directions. Matt built a towing empire in Utah. Tom pursued welding and fabrication with a family of his own. But when Matt called years later, offering a spot on the recovery team and a role in something bigger, Tom didn't hesitate for long. He packed up, moved to southern Utah, and jumped in headfirst. Together they built more than recoveries. They dreamed up Sweet Caroline, a 1,000-vehicle fabrication project. They spent snow-packed winters digging steel, sketching designs, and building what would become one of the world's largest off-road wreckers. For a time, it was magic, but not every collaboration is meant to last forever. As Matt's off-road recovery grew, so did Tom's longing to carve his own path. He wasn't leaving in anger or frustration, he was simply choosing himself. As he later explained, trying to juggle Matt's high-paced operations and his own fabrication dreams had become unsustainable. His decision to step away wasn't a dramatic fallout, it was a natural transition. The timing was right, the team was strong, the major builds were behind them, and Matt, to his credit, understood. Today, Tom is just 5 minutes from the old shop, running his own operation with the same passion and precision that first drew him to off-road recovery. He still stops by, he still lends a hand, and by all accounts, his friendship with Matt remains unshaken. It wasn't a rift, it was a fork in the road. And like any good recovery mission, both men knew when it was time to turn the wheel.
Behind every dusty rescue and every stuck 4x4 on Matt's off-road recovery is something you can't fabricate with tools or edit into footage: a genuine sense of family. Matt Wetzel didn't just build a business, he built a bond, and it shows in every interaction on screen. From the banter between team members to the seamless way they coordinate mid-recovery, viewers aren't just watching a crew, they're watching a community. Each member brings something irreplaceable to the table. There's the calm precision of Lizzie, the inventive mind of Tom, the daring drive of new recruits like Caitlin and Laura Farms. They're not actors, they're not influencers chasing screen time. They're real people with real skills, sharing real moments of grit, failure, and triumph. And that authenticity is the glue. Fans didn't just fall in love with Matt, they fell in love with his team. They saw themselves in the laughter during a lunch break, in the stress of a stuck axle, in the relief when a vehicle finally breaks free. There's no bravado, no fake suspense. When things go wrong, the team admits it. When they argue, it's honest. And when they succeed, it's because every member pulled their weight. That's why people keep watching, not just for the rescue, but for the reminder that teamwork, loyalty, and shared purpose still matter. It's a lesson in leadership, too. Matt never acts like a boss barking orders. He's in the mud with the others, sleeves rolled up, welding torch in hand, treating every team member like family. And that energy trickles down. It's why fans have followed the channel through its highs, lows, controversies, and goodbyes. Because Matt's off-road recovery isn't just about vehicles, it's about the people pushing them forward, together. After all the headlines, court dates, goodbyes, and viral rescues, you might expect Matt Wetzel to take a step back, maybe delegate more, or even hang up his recovery gear altogether. But that's not his way. Today, Matt is right where he's always been, on the ground, in the shop, and behind the wheel of his yellow recovery rigs. The legal trouble may have dented his reputation, but it didn't shake his core. He didn't pivot into public speaking tours or try to rebrand himself as a celebrity. He went back to work. He's still pulling Jeeps out of sand traps, still tinkering with builds under the hot Utah sun, still laughing with fans who stop by the shop, offering a handshake, a photo, or just a thank you. His videos keep rolling in, but the tone is more reflective now, less about proving himself, and more about simply doing what he loves. He continues to invest in better rigs, harder missions, and deeper community ties. That resilience, quiet and unglamorous, is what keeps his audience coming back. Matt doesn't pretend the past didn't happen, but he doesn't let it define him either. He owns his mistakes, honors his supporters, and leads by example. The same man who once welded makeshift tools in his backyard is still showing up every day, not because he has to, but because he wants to. And that's the heartbeat of Matt's off-road recovery. He may be the face of the channel, but he never acts above the mission. With every winch cable he tightens and every tire he digs out of the earth, Matt proves one thing over and over again. When you truly love what you do, no setback can keep you off the road for long.
In the end, Matt Wetzel's story isn't defined by a courtroom, a YouTube algorithm, or even a yellow recovery van. It's defined by persistence, the kind that doesn't flinch under pressure, doesn't run from consequence, and doesn't let one wrong turn erase an entire journey. From rooftops to rescue missions, Matt built his legacy with calloused hands and a stubborn heart. He made mistakes, some big enough to bring down an empire, but he didn't vanish, he showed up. He faced it. And most importantly, he learned. That's what separates a fall from a failure. Redemption isn't granted by fans or courts. It's earned, day by day, through accountability, consistency, and staying true to who you are. Matt never claimed to be perfect. He never pretended to be untouchable. He just kept showing up, for strangers stuck in mud, for teammates chasing dreams, and for viewers who found comfort in his steady presence. The legal scandal didn't destroy him, it revealed him, not as a flawless icon, but as a real man doing his best to navigate the complicated terrain of running a business with heart in a world that doesn't always reward it. His team still trusts him, his fans still rally behind him, and his channel remains a beacon of what's possible when passion meets perseverance. So as the dust settles on one of the most unexpected chapters in off-road YouTube history, the question isn't whether Matt deserves redemption, it's this: who among us wouldn't want to be judged not by our worst moment, but by how we recover from it? For Matt Wetzel, the answer lies in every engine he reignites, every life he touches, and every trail he refuses to abandon. Because recovery, real